Rodger Friedman is a retired retirement wealth planner. He claims that America is broken, and he's even written a book about it by that very title, Erasing America, Broken Politics, Broken Country. Roger, welcome to The Truth.
Thank you, John. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Here in West Palm Beach, Florida, where it's only about 88 degrees and it feels like about 108 because it is so humid.
You're about 5 degrees cooler than I am.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we do get an ocean breeze, and I would imagine that you do as well. But tell me, what was the inspiration for the book? Why do you think America is broken?
Well, when I moved down to Florida from Maryland during the height of COVID, I'd read the paper and I'd get angry at so many things that I was reading, what Congress was doing, what the Biden administration was doing, and I felt that I had to somehow spread the word to tell somebody. So I created a one-page email to friends and family every Sunday, and I called it the Sunday Memo. And I'd write about various things that really annoyed the hell out of me about what liberals and progressives were doing to this country. And lo and behold, the people that I sent it to really liked what they were reading. And as time went on, I couldn't limit it to one page. It started to become 2, 3, 4,000 words every week. And one fine day, my sister, Diane, God love her, said, you got a makings of a book here. That was
Hmm.
after the 48th Sunday memo. So my book, Erasing America, is actually a compilation of my first 48 memos. And right now I'm writing memo number 105.
You know, if House Bill 1 had passed back in 2021, we would not have a two-party system in America today. I do not believe, and I had the same sense that you did, that we really were erasing the America that we knew. And you've got Barack Obama, who perpetrated the biggest fraud of on America that anybody has, maybe second only to Biden. It felt like there for a while we were never going to get out of this, and the amount of duplicity
Yes.
that they engaged in was just shocking to my
Yeah,
conscience.
and the latest is with the auto pen, obviously. Um, it seemed that we had a despicable government that just knew no bounds, and they weren't bound by the same rules and laws that we were.
Well, how do you feel about our country today? Are we regaining America? Are we
We are regaining. We are
reclaiming it?
on a better path. I was a supporter of President Trump. I've known of Donald Trump all my life
Me
because
too.
I
Same
grew
here.
up in Midtown Manhattan.
Uh huh.
My dad had a laundry right at Times Square, and I used to deliver to Trump Tower.
I'll be
Okay.
darned.
So I never met him, but I was aware of him. And, one of the best books I've ever read, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's called Trump Style Negotiation. Okay.
I have not seen that book.
Okay. This book is by George Ross. If you remember back with when The Apprentice was on the air,
Sure.
there was a little old man sitting right next to Donald
Oh,
Trump,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
who was his chief negotiator,
Oh.
George Ross.
Hmm.
And he's the one that before he ever met Donald, he closed 706 major real estate deals in New York City. And then Trump called on him to help him with the Grand Central Hyatt deal, which exploded Trump's career.
Hmm.
But George Ross taught a course on negotiation at NYU. But I was rereading the book, and Donald Trump wrote the foreword, and here's what he said in one sentence: "I like to work in broad strokes, deal with the big picture, but not the details." Okay, and that's exactly what you see going on now. And journalists are saying, "Oh, you're pivoting. Oh, you're a taco." All this nonsense, but Think of it this way: he throws a lot of spaghetti against the wall. Some of it is going to stick, some of it won't. Birthright citizenship, deportations, the wall, etc. But he operates in broad strokes and then relies on a world class cabinet to try to get things through to the finish line. But I am so jazzed at the fact that we have a proactive leader now instead of someone who hides in the White House.
Totally. And you don't have any question about who is in charge.
Oh, yeah,
And
and there's transparency.
there's transparent, well, sort of. We'll get to
Oh.
that. I've got a bone to pick. Um, so, Donald Trump became really famous by virtue of The Apprentice. And that was a reality TV show where they actually did basically contest based around a business idea
Right.
that two teams would go out and try and develop. And we saw how Donald Trump thought, and we saw his toughness, and we saw his candor. And that's it. It feels very similar to that to me today when you watch him in a cabinet meeting. I mean, he is performing just no less than if he were on The Apprentice.
Yeah, and you've noticed there have been six televised cabinet meetings. I don't think Biden had six cabinet meetings in his whole career.
Well, it depends on whether you count the ones that Dr. Jill, who is no doctor, conducted. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I don't even want to get started on it
Right.
because it just makes my blood boil. I've maintained consistently that Biden was an illegitimate president, seated illegitimately, and brought illegitimate actors into the White House and the highest level of
I
government.
agree with you.
And I'm just not going to get worked up over it again today.
I
I've
know.
spent the last
Well,
4 years being worked up, and I am so optimistic about what President Trump is doing with the one uh, elephant in the room, and that is the Epstein files. You know, Nixon had this pesky little thing called Watergate that brought his presidency down, but it wasn't the burglary. Watergate is named for the burglary of the Watergate Tower where the DNC had its headquarters. That's where the name Watergate came from.
Yeah, I used to work about 2 miles from there, and I'd pass by there every day on the way to work.
Yeah, and I spent the night there about 4 months ago when I was in DC at the
Right?
hotel at the Watergate. Uh,
They reopened it.
yeah, yeah, and you can even go have a tour of the Watergate uh, office building where the DNC
Right.
was located,
But
and you can see the bedroom where the burglars
yeah.
staged their.
Well,
Um,
there's always an 800-pound elephant in the room. Right now, it's Epstein. I don't give a damn about the Epstein files. As far as
I
I'm
do.
concerned, move on to more important things
No, you're
like
you're begging. You're taking
tariffs,
a line out of Richard
deportation.
Nixon's
Yeah,
'74 press conference, and you're taking a line out of Donald Trump's press conference last weekend. And I'm telling you, I do care, and I'll tell you why.
right.
Because I think that we can't see the files because I think it implicates our federal government, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick
I
of the
get
fact
that.
that they killed Kennedy.
Yeah,
I think they probably brought down Building 7. I don't know. I can't extrapolate beyond that, but let's just agree that Building 7 was a controlled demolition.
okay,
Every architect, every engineer that has looked at it has said that's not uh, shrapnel from the World Trade Center buildings, from the towers. That is a controlled demolition. So what the hell? And then we've got Butler, July 13th, 2024. I would like to know, where is Maxwell Urich and what role did he play? I'd like to know where Maxwell Urich's van is that we saw being towed away on national television. And I would like to know, who was Epstein working for? It would take no imagination at all to figure it out. They probably have it in the files, and if they don't have it in the files, they can go look through his canceled checks, or his deposits, I should say, and see who was paying him.
right.
It wouldn't be that difficult. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this, and you see this logo behind me. I really do care about the truth, and I want the truth in all facts, in all settings. um, relating to our government. They do not have the luxury of keeping secrets beyond the point of when the
National
reason
secret.
for the original secret
Yeah.
expires.
Yeah.
But when the mission is complete and the people are dead, give us the damn information. And that's what we see with Epstein, I believe.
We keep hearing of false news, and the fact that journalists put a negative slant on almost everything having to do with the president.
I mean, I love Trump. I am a forever Trumper. I voted for him 3 times. I've given him a lot of money. He
Same.
actually gave me money for my campaign when I ran for attorney general. He donated
Right.
to a friendly PAC, and
Right.
we were able to. They were able to use the money to uh, educate voters, and so I love Trump. But I don't love the fact that he told us he was going to give us all the information on Epstein, JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King, and it's been very slow in coming out. And I don't suspect, I do suspect that we have not gotten the bad stuff. What we've mostly gotten is stuff that's already in the public domain.
Oh, I understand that there are things that are going to really piss me off what's going on in the Trump administration, but there are literally dozens of balls in the air right now.
There is no question, and I don't want
Iran, China, et cetera.
our
And Epstein
economy,
is just
tariffs.
one of those balls.
Yeah, I don't want to drop any of those balls either,
Yeah,
but I'm not willing to compromise on the truth.
I get it.
And our government, I think, is
Yeah,
rotten to its core.
yeah,
And they break laws that you and I would go and spend the rest of our
right,
lives in prison for. And there's a guy on YouTube who I really admire. His name's Zach, and he has a podcast called Wolves in Finance. Well, last weekend, and we're going to share segments of that today on the program. He shows the video of the camera in the jail where Epstein was, the one video that they gave us. And damned if you can't see an orange jumpsuit walking up the stairs into Epstein's cell. They thought that was going to clear the air, and all it did was muddy the water. And it was proximate to when Epstein is believed to have died.
right.
Notice I did not say committed suicide. There is so much evidence against the notion that Epstein committed suicide. And the cameras were gone out, except for this one camera. And the camera that we were given had a minute of erased video on it, or where the video, we're told, actually stopped for a minute. It stops that same minute every night,
Right.
and did for a decade. I just don't buy it.
Well, I've gotten to the point where I have to become comfortable in my own bones about what I'm uncomfortable with and what I will never know. There's a whole lot going on in the government. There are negotiations right now with a number of countries on tariffs. We have no idea what is being said right now until some journalist breaks a story, and we learn, okay, there is now a 19% tariff with Indonesia, for example. But all this is going on behind the curtain, and I don't even know what I don't know.
Well, and all kinds of deals are being made. All
Sure.
right, well, we're going to tariff you, but then we'll give you a subsidy on the back end, or on the front end, or something. And so it's going to look like a tariff, but it's not really a tariff because we're going to give you the money back.
So all this is going on. And I know that between the Howard Lutnicks, the Treasury Secretary, Commerce, et cetera, that they are in a better position to get all this done than I am. I'm just a keen observer, and I report on what I see, okay, like you. And I understand that there's so much that I don't know what's going on.
And there's some that we shouldn't know what's going on. But I would like to know whether a backdoor deal was made with Qatar, and
Right,
the gift of the 747, was that done with the knowledge that it would be used as an exhibit in the Trump library right down the road here in Boca Raton? I don't know, but I think if it is, that we should know about it.
right. There's a whole lot we should know about John,
Yeah, well, that's what inquiring minds want to
right?
know. So I want to put America back together again, just like you do, but I want to do it in an ethical way. And I think that you know, the president is role modeling for every elected official in the country. Every bureaucrat in the country is watching, and they will mimic that behavior. And so I just think that leadership is very important. And
John, you just said something that rang a bell. So
mm,
I was reading an article yesterday, and it was talking about one of the Federalist Papers and the fact that John Adams, when he left the presidency, created a whole bunch of judges to be obstructionist for what Thomas Jefferson wanted to do. And although he had the legal authority to do that, was it ethical?
well, probably
There,
not.
there is a whole lot of stuff that goes on in government that is right on that line, and you and I would have a problem with the ethics of it.
Yeah. But then again, I watch, and I was trained as a lawyer, so I have these very
And
complicated,
thank God I
contradictory
was not trained as a lawyer.
contradictory conversations with myself. But I was watching Julian Dory, who also has a YouTube podcast. He's a young guy, and I'm telling you, his the amount of knowledge that he possesses is just unbelievable. I am really in awe of this guy. But he was having a conversation last week with a investigative journalist along the similar lines that you and I are. And they looked at each other and he said, but they said, China's doing this stuff. And Russia's doing this stuff. And Iran or Israel and Iran are doing this stuff. So if we don't do this stuff, they'll have superior intelligence to what we have, and then we'll lose. Well, I don't know how you answer that. I really don't. I mean, I can be moralistic and righteous and say, we're just not going to do that. Okay. And then we lose our country because we're not willing to play the game.
John, that goes back to I have to be comfortable not knowing what goes on in the situation room. I just have to think that cooler heads will prevail. And I'm so happy that Donald Trump is in that situation room rather than Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Okay. Yeah.
So tell us about the book. How's it doing?
The book hit bestseller status on Amazon. I'm grateful for that. But what I'm really grateful about is that I'm able to be on shows such as yours and just share some opinions that I think are important, because so much of the American population has been asleep at the switch. The fact that Kamala Harris got some 70 million votes, I find remarkable. And someone once told me that the average American's an idiot. Okay. And I hate to think that is true.
I think P.T. Barnum actually informed us of that
Possibly.
quite
But
a century ago.
that depresses me. Just
Yeah.
like, the latest socialist mayor win in the primary in New York City, or the fact that Illinois keeps putting Pritzker back in office, or Newsom. It goes on and on and on. These people are not thinking with their head straight.
It boggles the mind.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rodger Friedman, for coming on The Truth today. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. And feel free to come back anytime. We'll invite you back on here as events evolve, especially if we get the Epstein files. I'm going to bring you back and say, I told you so.
Right back at you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodger. Have a great rest of your weekend. And that's The Truth. I'm John Gordon. We come to you every Saturday on the John Fredericks Radio Network in 8 cities and 22 AM and FM radio stations, as well as our live streams across the web on Getter, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and X. That's the one. And we also put it up on podcasts like Spotify,